Hello, it's time for another Takeda episode of the Eternal Law. On the last Takeda episode, we saw the province of Noto be besieged by the Takeda forces led by Nobushige, supported by the Honma. At the same time, the Tokugawa province of Totoimi was besieged by Takeda Shingen. The Tokugawa mustered some reinforcements and tried to sally out against Shingen. However, their men did not have enough morale to sustain the fight and eventually fell back, leading to a complete Tokugawa defeat and the destruction of their clan. In the north, Noto was taken by auto-resolve after the Ikko joined the fight, an easy victory for the Takeda. But then the Honma suddenly attacked the Takeda province of Etchu with a huge army. They slaughtered everyone inside the castle, and now it's up to the Takeda to go and take it back. Let's go and see how they do. No, I have no intention of betraying them. The Ikko may be different to us, but that is no reason to deny them respect for their position in the nation. It is to our benefit to stand alongside them, regardless of their purported hate for the samurai. No, until the chance arises to do otherwise, I think we should focus on our eastern rivals. The Honma clearly desired death, the Date certainly watch our lands with envy. Let the Ikko rejoice in their success while we build our strength. Then we'll see. So we're back with the Takeda, who, as we now know, are ailing from the loss of Etchu province to the Honma. Here we can see Nobukado's army. This was an army I was keeping in reserve for just such an occasion as this, so I'm now moving him up to challenge Etchu and see if we can get it back. I'm moving cautiously up the road step by step because I wanted to know whether the Honma had moved out of the castle and perhaps prepared an ambush in those forests you see on either side of the road. But it turned out the Honma was still just sitting in the castle, allowing me to move up and set up a siege around it. Now I'm in no rush to actually take the castle back because Etchu isn't a particularly valuable province in any way, so I wasn't going to sacrifice scores of Takeda men by leading an assault on the castle. All I was going to do is get Nobushige and Nobukado here to just have the siege going and gradually starve the Honma out, weaken them. Perhaps they'll sally out later and I'll be able to fight a more defensive battle against them. Back down south you can see I'm moving Yamadera's army back east towards Sagami province to be refitted with new troops. He is left over from the victorious campaign against the Tokugawa, after which Shingen's army is still sitting in Mukawa with no particular place to go for now. Moving into the next turn, we master the art Way of Sword, and this unlocks a whole bunch more sword units for us to use, so hopefully we'll see some of those later. We also see this large Ikko force sitting in North Shinano. Not 100% sure what that Ikko army thinks it's doing, however I have to give it the benefit of the doubt. So next I have to choose a new art to move on to after Way of the Sword, and I chose Calligraphy. This gives you a bonus to your diplomatic relations with other clans and gives you a large bonus on the amount of money you make from trade, which was what I was particularly interested in, and that's why I'm going for it. So here is the siege at Etchu. You can see some of the Honma units have lost troops because they've been under siege for the last turn, and I'm just going to leave them under siege, so they're going to use even more troops and get weaker and weaker. We already have a distinct advantage. I'm checking it here. You can see the balance bar is about 2/3 in our favour, so the game thinks we have an advantage. So I could even take this province by auto-resolve and have fair losses, but I decided I was in no rush. I was just going to leave it and make things even easier later on. Back down south you can see the large reinforcement group I've been building in Sagami for Yamadera's army now links up with Yamadera, and he's just going to wait there by the ports because I have plans to move him sort of elsewhere later on. So for now he's actually not going to be doing very much. You can see a few of the extra sword units I unlocked very briefly there. Moving into the next turn, there's an apprehension attempt. It seems that a Hatakeyama Metsuke found its way down to Hida and was trying to arrest one of my monks who was working in the province. I checked to see if the monk could do anything about it. The monk can attempt to convert the Metsuke to our clan, but it has a very low probability of success, so I didn't really want to risk it in case he just ends up getting arrested anyway. Now I'm looking around to see if I have any other agents that deal with the situation. It turns out I didn't really, so I'll have to deal with that later. Down south I'm moving the Takeda main fleet, which now exists off the south coast of Japan, to go and pick up Yamadera's army, as we saw there, because I had plans to move him perhaps quite far afield from the Takeda's current home provinces. You can also see I've hired a Metsuke in North Shinano, so next turn perhaps he'll be able to go and engage with the enemy Metsuke in Hida. At the end of this autumn term, it seems the Honma got bored of being under siege and decided to sally out. Now they've lost even more men, so they have an even bigger disadvantage in this fight. However, if they want to fight, then fine, let's do it. Let's see if I can win this fight without taking too many losses and make it an interesting one. We'll head down into the battle and see what Nobushige and Nobukado can pull off and take back Etchu for us, hopefully. They are not coming. It seems, men, that our people have forgotten the debt they owe us. It seems they have forsaken the loyalty they owe us. It seems that now we shall die for the mission they gave us. And yet here, when there is nothing left but the enemy in front and empty jars of water behind, doesn't life seem the most simple? It is time, my honourable men, to create an end that will bring shame to those who forgot about us. Advance and be struck down by the blades that write history! Here is the place the battle shall be fought. There's a hill in the middle and there's a hill on our side where the Takeda army is currently waiting to receive the sallying Honma force. You can see the formation is actually incomplete because I was relying on the reinforcements being brought in by Nobushige to come and fill out the ranks a little bit so I could have a big powerful formation right from the very beginning. And since the enemy have to get to us, I should have time to do that. But you can see the Honma forces are charging at full pelt. They cannot wait to get into the attack. I'm not 100% sure why they're doing this. They seem very determined anyway. So you can see the formation here, these yellow dots representing where I'm going to be filling it out with extra units. You can also see I'm moving a huge body of cavalry around on our left flank. I have a smaller body on the right flank as well. But this is where the main force is going to be, led by Nobushige himself. And they're going to do some devastating damage to the enemy back ranks if they can get around them. So the Honma army made its way up to the Takeda formation, and here it is advancing, not really in any sort of unified way. It seems their units were all acting independently rather than working together, which was a problem for them. You can see their cavalry is charging across the front of their own line, causing tons of disruption, and they get hit by a huge volley of fire arrows as they do. So their morale is going to be dropping already because they're charging uphill into fire arrows, having their own formation broken up. You can see they're trying a flank attack here, but my own cavalry division comes in and completely destroys their light cavalry. The sheer force of numbers and man-to-man advantage there. The enemy start splitting their force up to try and chase my cavalry as usual, and this only weakens their centre. The first unit in their centre is about to engage. You can see it's being supported by archers behind it. The archers really weaken the spear wall just before those katana samurai attack, and actually those katana samurai appear to break through the spear wall immediately. So that spear wall didn't last very long, and now those long Yari Ashigaru are in trouble because those katana samurai are going to cut them down unless I can help them out in some way. You can see the rest of their lines are now beginning to engage all the way along the front line that I had presented to them. So they weren't really trying to get around me or anything, they were going right up the centre and uphill. A poor choice from the enemy command. Now the game lags because I gave all of my army in order simultaneously. This is because I'm moving my third and second lines down onto the front line to add extra weight to those fights amongst the spear units in front where I was actually at a disadvantage. You can see here as an example, these long Yari Ashigaru are out of formation. They're now fighting with their swords against these enemy katana samurai. It's a very bad situation for them. I think there are some enemy lone sword Ashigaru in there, which are also going to be strong against these long Yari Ashigaru. So my men are going to have some trouble there. I have some bow cavalry and bow Ashigaru behind them providing support with arrows. It's not really going to be enough because this is a very awkward angle for them to fire at. You can see the enemy's weight is about the same amount as mine in terms of the thickness of the lines on either side. However, the enemy are exhausted and demoralised from their huge charge and their generally deathly situation. Also because behind them right now there are 10 units of cavalry lined up, and even though they're not even engaging them, just the fact that the 10 units of cavalry are sitting there completely ruins their morale because they're just constantly in fear that something's going to happen. And in fact they all start retreating at around this point. Even before I could engage them with the cavalry was still behind them, just taking out the 1 or 2 archer units that were sitting around. So the battle ends even before I thought it would. You can see here the huge Takeda cavalry armada. Here is actually engaging with spear units, which you think would be a silly thing to do with cavalry, but the spear units were completely out of formation. I just swamped them to all sides with cavalry. It was like a huge swarm of flies just attacking the body of the Yari samurai. Over here some of their samurai actually were holding on. They're fighting with some Naginata Ashigaru who had come way out of formation to stop the enemy going around the flank. So they actually could have potentially won this little bit of the fight. But I run my Yari Ashigaru out fire a massive volley of arrows in, and then Nobukado, who's dismounted, tries to run down and get some of the action, because it's been a while since he actually got some kills personally. However, those Yari Ashigaru surrender before he can reach them. So poor Nobukado, who didn't get his kills. But at the very least, we have won the battle with relatively few casualties, except in our front spear line, as we saw. Let's head back to the map, where Etchu is now ours. The battle results screen has good news for us. We lost only a couple of hundred troops, and the entire Honma army has, of course, been defeated. This means that Etchu, while not quite ours, will be ours at the end of the turn, because they did have a few troops left inside the castle, so the siege has to continue for a bit. It looks like we have a worthy bride who has presented themselves for Takeda Yoshinobu, the young new general in our clan. She's a polite wife apparently, so that's good news. I allowed them to marry, and then we get this message saying that Fujin is giving us a warning. There's some sort of dark religious omen has been spotted. I have the option to invest money in the necessary rites to avoid catastrophe from the gods, or I can ignore it. And I decided to invest this money simply because it solidifies the faith of the Buddhist population, shows that the clan is willing to support them, and this is particularly useful because our entire clan is currently being quite influenced by the Ikko to our west. So I did need that extra Buddhist influence just to stop them from, you know, really getting foot in the door. So you can see now I'm auto-resolving the final assault on Etchu, just killing the last handful of troops inside with Nobukado and Nobushige's forces there. And the castle is captured with ease. So Etchu has been recaptured. You can see it is turning to Shinto Buddhism from Ikko-ism. So this is good news. It seems that our religious tactics are working, gradually converting the population to Buddhism. Now way back down on the south side you can see Takeda Yoshinobu, the recently married member of the Takeda clan, is moving south towards the docks at Sagami, where I have some forces waiting for him. He's also bringing 4 regiments of fire cavalry with him, and I'm moving ships up to the dock. The strategy here being to put some troops in a ship in order to have a mobile strike force along the south coast of Japan, just in case I need to invade or defend any particular location. In the next turn we have a message telling us that a new son has been born into the Takeda clan. This is another son of Takeda Shingen, so this is good news. In about, well, 15 years he'll come of age. I wonder if the Takeda clan will still be around in 15 years. Well, we'll have to find out. So I'm loading Yamadera's army into the ships there. I was going to try and load Yoshinobu's troops in as well, but of course you can't fit more than 20 regiments in any given number of ships. So he's going to have to wait behind on the shore for me to build more ships if he wants to go anywhere. But for now I'm moving Yamadera's army inside the fleet to the east, because I was thinking perhaps I was going to head up the east side, which is really the north side of course, and do something about the Satake, who conquered my vassal clan, the Uesugi, very recently. You can see up here that this is where the Uesugi were, so I'm going to send my ships up here, potentially to counter-invade at some point in the near future. When I rode from Kai, the people were staging a large festival, praising the gods and the clan for the end to the wars in Takeda lands. But they understand little. Just because our enemies are not at our gates does not mean they will not see their women widowed by the fortunes of battle. This peace just marks the end of the first phase in this war, and my father knows it. That's why they celebrate while I ride with sword in hand and warriors at my back. I have no cause for joy. Back up on the north coast you can see I've constructed a bow koboya, and I'm sending it out on its own to act as a scout because I want to see what the Honma have around their island. Unfortunately I didn't have enough movement points to actually go and see the castle or any of the ships that will be guarding the approach, which is on the east side. So unfortunately I'll have to wait till the next turn to find out what's really going on. You can see I've also constructed locally a fleet of warships, got some Sengoku Bune and medium bunes in there. The idea being that if I can get a fleet together, I can stage a naval invasion of Sado, the Honma main base. And then I should be able to get rid of their threat once and for all and steal their gold, which is something I was rather enthusiastic to do. Now we're back down on the south coast, and I'm having second thoughts about this plan with Yamadera. I didn't really want to send him very far from the Takeda lands because I just felt paranoid that something bad was going to happen, especially because the Satake province I wanted to capture had been captured by the Date in the end turn sequence, so my explicit reason for leaving the Takeda lands wasn't there anymore. I could still invade the Satake, they still have provinces up there, but I just didn't really feel like it. So I'm pulling him back. I'm also moving Yoshinobu towards the north coast and recruiting more troops to join up with him, because I was kind of worried that the Hatakeyama and the Honma up there might come around and invade Etchu or Noto again while my troops are away attempting to invade Sado.
Consider my words with care, and likewise your response.
So now the Ikko Ikki give me this offer. They want me to join a war against the Amako and they're going to give me 1,000 gold for it. I decided to turn them down because I didn't really have a reason to go to war with the Amako at this stage. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do it, because in the diplomacy screen you don't have an opportunity to actually go and look at the Amako and size them up and decide whether it's a good idea. So I didn't want to jump into things and I avoided it. But during the end turn sequence we also have this happen. The Honma Navy approaches and it's more powerful than I had imagined it would be. It has loads of these heavy bunes, ships I can't even build because I don't have the technology yet. They also have firebomb kaboyas, another ship I can't build. These are kind of like bow kaboyas, but instead of bows they have grenades essentially, so they'll come up alongside your large ships, throw handfuls of grenades in and just destroy the troops inside. I wasn't really willing to face these guys. You can see that a couple of the enemy kaboyas are hunting down my scouting bow kaboya. I decided to auto-resolve and my bow kaboya was destroyed for no enemy losses, unfortunately. Now we have some more bad news. It seems that this Hatakeyama ninja has been attempting to sabotage Shingen's army. This would just mean that they can't move during this turn if he had been successful, but fortunately he failed. I have a Metsuke stationed in the castle here at Makawa. I tried to arrest the ninja, but I get an apprehension failed event. So now my Metsuke, sorry, is at risk from the enemy ninja because he may just try and assassinate my Metsuke at the end turn sequence. Here you can see the Honma have pretty much blockaded the Takeda fleet onto the north coast. So there's a little bit of a situation up there and it's going to be very difficult for me to break that blockade because my ships are just too weak. Now what's going on here? You can see that Yamadera is once again sailing out towards the north end of Japan because I was just being very indecisive and decided that in fact I would like him up there. This time because I was thinking about starting a war with the Date clan, because they are on the march on several of my borders and I was getting worried. I thought they were probably going to invade at some point in the near future, so I was going to put my troops in a position to immediately counter-invade and capture their castles if they started walking towards my territory. At the same time, I reconsidered the idea of going to war with the Amako and actually then came to the Ikko Ikki and offered to join the war with the Amako. I was going to see whether they would still be willing to give me that 1,000 gold in order to help them out, but they found that unacceptable, and I thought that's kind of fair since I already turned them down before. The reason is because the Amako control the region around the capital, and so by going to war with them, this gives me an opportunity to use my military access with the Ikko Ikki to send troops towards the capital region and potentially capture a province from where in the future I would be able to go and assault Kyoto. So this was the thinking. You can see that the only troops I already have able to do this is Shingen's main force here. It's a fairly ragtag force of lots of different types of units. It now includes mounted riflemen. This was a speciality that the Tokugawa clan had been building up in their province, the ability to construct mounted riflemen, although we never saw the Tokugawa use them in battle. Now Shingen has 2 regiments of these mounted gunners, so we'll be trying them out in battle soon enough. So you can see Shingen is marching north towards Mino, and then he is going to be able to go westward along the road through this forest into Umi, which is one of the Amako provinces. The Ikko Ikki are currently attempting to capture it at the same time as me, so I'll have to race to get there first, unfortunately. Now because I knew he was fairly exposed out there, I wanted to send reinforcements up behind him, so I'm gathering up troops from along the coastline here and sending them towards Shingen's position up there, just in case he needs a little bit of help. So the Ikko Ikki will be helping him out as well, so he shouldn't be in too much trouble. You can see the Date, as I said, conquering around my lands. They're conquering the Satomi clan down there. And then as we move into winter, I get another warning of ill portents. It seems that the gods really do want to strike down on the Takeda. I decide yet again to invest the money in avoiding any calamities and keeping the population happy, because of course I still need to convert the population to Buddhism. Now Shingen is doing his march into Umu, but the Ikko have actually already captured it even before I got anywhere near the castle. So the next viable target for me was Yamato. Yamato is a powerful province with the ability to recruit elite warrior monk units. So I thought I might go down there, capture Yamato, and that has a direct road leading to Kyoto. So that would be a nice place for me to do my little sneaky occupation plan for a future assault on the capital. As I arrive at Umi, I see there's a large Amako army just standing outside the castle. The castle has no men in it. However, the Ikko have 4 stacked armies just standing around in the area. I move closer and see there's another Amako army behind it. So it seems there's a huge standoff of forces going on here. But the Ikko definitely have the advantage. So I didn't feel particularly endangered by just walking into the middle of it, because the Ikko will help me out if anything goes wrong. In the end turn sequence, the Amako decided to try and attack the castle, which by now had been fully garrisoned with Ikko troops. This led to this battle where there were 4 full stacks on our side and 2 full stacks on their side. It's a battle in which we would easily win, but I kind of wanted to show it just for the sheer epicness of this huge fight. But then I remembered that my PC will probably just crash, because this battle will have like over 10,000 troops in it. And I was getting lag with battle that's like 4,000 or so troops. So I thought, like, if I was going to bring you footage of this battle, it'd be in about 5 frames per second. So I thought, there's no point, and we have such a large advantage anyway, that I may as well just auto-resolve this combat. Shingen, as the 4th reinforcement army, would very likely not get to take the field at all, because only 2 armies from each side can be on the field at any one time. So he would only get to go onto the field if 40 Ikko regiments were defeated in the battle, which is very unlikely, and he doesn't really take any losses as a result in the auto-resolve. The entire Amako force was killed, including a very high-level general, so the Amako have been considerably weakened, and hopefully my alliance with the Ikko has been strengthened. Another cleansing. I'm tired of having this castle full of monks. Why does Shingen pay these zealots as much as they want whenever an ill portent is seen? They don't mean anything. And now he's off fighting alongside the Ikko, wasting Takeda lives for no reason whatsoever. He's gone crazy, obviously. Perhaps he is possessed by a spirit. Is the ghost of a vengeful Tokugawa samurai making him do these things? Whatever. I just don't think I can sit here and watch the shores much longer. As we move into spring, it seems that Hatakeyama ninja has successfully sabotaged the troops currently stationed at Makawa. So now I have another opportunity to attempt to arrest him, and this time it succeeds. I managed to get this ninja executed. So there we go, revenge has been had, but it does mean I can't move these troops this turn, which means Shingen will not be receiving his reinforcements. So unfortunately, it's quite bad news that ninja was acting up. Still, there's no time to lose, because the Ikko have this massive army here, and they're probably going to storm into the Amako territory any moment. So I need Shingen to be at the vanguard so that he can capture the castle for the Takeda rather than letting the Ikko capture it. So I need to move down into Yamato. I can't move through the shogunate lands of Kyoto, so I have to go south and through this forest into Yamato, which is going to take a couple of turns, unfortunately. But at least the Ikko will have to do the same, so they're not going to have an opportunity to rush ahead of me. So now let's move back to the situation with the Honma clan. You can see I've built up more ships in the area, so now I have a fairly substantial fleet. Now I was thinking this fleet probably would be able to break through the Honma fleet, even though it has inferior ships. We have so many of them, we can outmaneuver the enemy, perhaps set some of their ships on fire, and manage to get through. So I'm preparing the naval invasion at once. It'll be Nobukado's honor to lead the invasion, since he has the most elite force in the area. Nobushige's army is relatively weak, and I wasn't really sure I wanted to send him up at all. My plan was to have Nobushige and Yoshinobu here. Just guard this north coast against any invasion by the Date Hatakeyama, or indeed the Honma, that could occur at any moment, really, because we have no intelligence on what they're up to at the moment. We do know that the Hatakeyama are at war with us, and we haven't seen them in a while. They'll probably want to try and take Noto back one day, so I was expecting them to show up with a naval invasion at any moment. I'm moving extra forces around this peninsula to link up with my fleet. You can see I've got one fleet and then a second smaller fleet. This is because you can only have so many ships in each fleet group, so I'm sort of moving these two groups together. Now this meant like my main invasion fleet couldn't move very far away from the current position of the backup fleet, otherwise they won't be able to reinforce each other in battle. So I'm forced to not use completely all of my movement points, but it's okay because it would have taken 2 turns to reach the Honma base anyway, so it's not so much of a waste. You can see I'm moving Nobushige down to guard Etchu and abandoning Noto essentially for 1 turn, because Noto is the lesser important territory and it's easier to take back. So we're now moving into the next turn. You can see that the Ikko army have rushed ahead of Shingen's position into that forest near Yamato. We also get a message saying the Satomi have been destroyed. It seems the Date clan have wiped out the clan that used to be our ally and one of our key trading partners. So I was a little bit annoyed about that. It did sour my impression of the Date. But anyway, back to Shingen. He's moving through the forest. He manages to get through with no ambush. And now we spot Yamato. It seems to have a fairly large garrison in it. There's also a large garrison very nearby that could easily come and support them. So it looks like the enemy have a very strong presence in the area, and Shingen is currently a little bit exposed, but I'm relying on the Ikko forces to cover him and take the brunt of any enemy assaults that occur. So there's that situation now dealt with. We return to the naval invasion. We're in the next turn, of course, so we have more movement points. You can see I accidentally moved the backup fleet outside of the coastal region. These boats have to stay within a certain distance of the land, otherwise they suffer a sort of seaborne attrition and their crew start to die, just because they're not really designed to deal with the choppy waters out to sea. So I'm moving the ship up into this little cove on the west side of the island, and as I arrive I see that there are 2 massive Honma armies guarding the area, and it appears that they are at least mostly consisting of samurai. So this is a big issue. They have a double numerical advantage on us, and they probably have about equal strength man to man. Seeing this, I realized that I pretty much have to bring Nobushige as well to make this invasion be successful. So unfortunately I just send the ships back to go and be nearer to the next fleet I'm going to have to build, which is going to be carrying reinforcements from Etchu here. So we've got 2 situations where invasions look like they're about to occur, and both of them could easily go very wrong. I'm going to have to wait until the next Takeda episode to see how they actually go. That's all for this episode, but we'll be seeing the Oda suddenly face destruction next time on the Eternal Law.